Out time. So let us start with the next point. Okay, in the previous lecture, we have started with the first type, that is single inheritance. Yes, what is the logic behind single inheritance? Yes, one class is going to inherit all the properties of the another class. Okay, means the derived class is going to inherit all the properties of the base class. Okay, so with respect to that, we have discussed this particular example. So what happened with respect to this? All the properties of class B, those are available in inside the public scope. All the properties means like member functions and member variables are accessible inside the class D, because we are accessing with the help of public access specifier. So with respect to that, we have executed this task. Next one, what will happen if suppose we will do one change? Instead of that public, we will just mark it as a private. So what will happen? So all the public specifiers which are available inside that class B are directly available inside the private scope of that particular class D. So look at the right hand side. So integer B is available inside the private scope of that class D. Similarly, get AB and show A. So both the member functions which are available inside the private scope, but these two different functions are available inside the public scope of class B. But due to that private access specifier, all are accessible or are all available inside the private scope of that class D. So when we are going to execute this particular task, we have done this also again program in the last lecture. So we are going to create the object of the derived class, and with the help of that, we are going to access all the public methods, all the methods which are available inside the public scope of class B. But it won't work because all these methods are not available inside the public scope of class D. Okay, so that's why it will show that error. So this is the visibility scope with respect to all the members. Just look at the basic concept. Then in the next slide, we will going to discuss briefly how private works, means how all this access specifier works, just like private, public, and protected. Okay, so with respect to, just look at the first class. Inside the class B, they have just given three different access specifiers: private, public, and protected. Means data is available with respect to three different specifiers. So just look at this left hand side, guys. Okay, just look at this left hand side. What happened here in this case? Class D1. Okay, so assume that this particular triangle left hand side is nothing but our class D1. So class D1 is going to access class B, means base class, in the public access specifier mode. So what will happen is, so whatever the data which is available inside that public scope, all data is available inside this class D1. Okay, so with respect to class D1, so just look at the right hand side. Class D2, scope resolution operator, and private B. What will happen? Yes guys, here whatever the data which is available inside this public scope, this particular data is available inside this scope, private scope. Okay, yes guys, we have done this task. Yes guys, we have executed both these tasks with respect to public base class and with respect to private base class. Yes, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay, and look at the last one. Okay, so assume that this particular class is nothing but class X, and this particular class X is going to inherit data from both these classes, just like from D1 class, and second one is from D2 class. So but with respect to D1 class, he is going to access all the data with the help of public access specifier mode, and with respect to this, it will access with the help of protected access specifier mode. So what will happen with respect to public? All the data which is available inside this public scope, all data is available inside this class X. Yes, and with respect to protected, again with respect to this protected, all the data which is available inside this protected is available with respect to class X, because protected, yes, with respect to protected, what is the use of protected access specifier? Yes guys, protected means what? the data which is available inside the protected access specifier mode is available only in the derived class. Okay, if the relation is available in between both the classes, means in between base class and derived class, and if you are going to access the data with the help of protected mode, then whatever the data which is available inside the base class is available only for the derived class, not any other class. Okay, that is related with derived class. So this is related with all the visibility efforts with respect to private, public, and protected. Okay, so next one. Okay, before moving to this particular slide, I will just draw how actually access specifier works. Okay, now we are talking about the access specifiers. Yes, how many access specifiers are there? First one is public, second one is the
Protected.
private or protected. Okay, and third one is protected. Okay, now just tell me about the public. What is the scope of this public? Yes, whatever the data which is available inside this public, this particular data is available, the scope of that.
Throughout the program.
Okay, I will just write within the class. Yes, any other with respect to derived class, the data which is available inside the public specifier is available within the class, means throughout the program, then derived class, and then third one is the again outside of the class. Yes, next one with respect to private access specifier, the data which is
Only
available,
inside the class.
that particular data is available only for within the class. Okay, and the next one with respect to protected, that particular data is available, yes, with respect to
Within the
protected,
class and derived class.
Derived class.
with respect to within the class and
And derived class.
inside the derived class. Okay, so this is the actually scope with respect to all these specifiers. Okay, so for this particular purpose I will just draw one table, so you will get the better idea, and just remember this particular table for your exam also. Okay, so with respect to this, I'll just consider the three different access specifier modes. Okay, so with respect to that, first access specifier mode is our public, then second one is we will consider as a private, and third one we will consider as a protected. And here we will write the scope. Suppose first of all I will write as a within the class, then second one I will write as a outside of the class, outside the class. Okay, and the for last one I will consider as a derived class. Okay, now tell me, yes, public access specifier mode, whatever the data which is available inside the public is available for within the class, so that's why yes, means whatever the data which is available inside the public is available within the whole class. Similar with respect to outside of the class, that data is available outside of the class, Yes, can anyone just give me example for this outside of class? How we are going to access that data outside of the class? Yes, can anyone? Yes. Yes. For public access specifier, how we are going to just define that particular this access specifier or whatever the data which is available inside the public is available outside of the class. Yes. Any example? Yes. For example, inside the one class ABC, we are defining multiple methods inside the public scope, and inside the main we are directly accessing all these methods with the help of that object scope, or we are accessing member variables. So this is the example with respect to outside of the class. And with respect to derived class, yes, is available. Yes. Next one, with respect to private. Yes guys, yes or no? The data which is available inside the
Yes.
private scope is available within the
Only
class.
within class.
Yes, is available only within the class. What about the outside of the class? Is not available. Similarly, for derived classes, that data is not available. Next one is for protected. Yes guys, data is available within the class. Next one,
Yes.
for outside of the class,
No.
data is not available. But for derived class, data is again available. Okay, so I'll save this diagram and I'll share you. So this is related with all the access specifiers. If suppose question came in the university, just like university papers, just define different access specifiers which are available inside the C++ language. So at least if you are not able to give the answer, just try to brief this particular table, before this table, which access specifier or the data which is available with respect to public is available for which class, within the class, outside of the class, or derived class. Means scope of that particular data with respect to access specifier which is available for which class, within the class, outside, or derived class. Okay, so for each and every access specifier, I'll show you one example. Okay, so you will get the better idea. Yes, is it required? I'll show you one example. Yes, it is required. Example for each and every access specifier, how public works, protected works, and private work. Yes guys. Okay, you are not responding. Okay, even though I will just show you example for each and every access specifier, how they works. Guys, just reply. Okay, now I will show you the example with respect to public access specifier mode. Okay, so with respect to public access specifier, okay, I will directly write down one example and then I will discuss that particular example. Okay, so without wasting time, so I will consider one class as a circle, and inside that class I will write some data with respect to public access specifier mode, and inside that I'll consider the first member variable as a radius. Then I will consider one member function as a compute area. Means I will calculate the area, and I'll write the definition for this particular function. So in that case, I will just return whatever the result for that particular circle. Yes, what is the formula? 3.14 into
3.14 into R into
r
radius
into
into
r,
radius.
radius into radius. Okay, so here in this particular class, this what is the logic with respect to this class? This particular class is going to be contain two different members. One is member variable and second one is the function. Okay, but both are available inside the public scope. That is most important. Okay, so next one, I will write the main function for this class. Yes. So how you are going to call these member functions and member variables inside the main or from the main? First of all,
Creating the object.
by creating the object. So I will create the object of that particular class circle first. Yes, object dot.
Obj.radius.
I will initialize that particular radius. Okay, to 5.5. Next one.
Object.compute area.
Object dot compute area, or again we have to store that particular object dot compute area in some variable, because directly we are going to return we are returning that value. Okay, so that's why again we have to store that value. Okay, so better way I will write that object dot. Okay, what will happen if suppose I will call this function with the help of this object? It will call this particular compute area. Okay, he will calculate or he will execute this particular formula 3.14 into radius, and he is going to return this particular value to which line? To this line or to the call line. So we have to store the result. Yes, am I right?
Yes, sir.
We have to store that result. Okay, so instead of that, okay, I will directly show that result and use the, okay, so see out. I will write the, first of all, radius of circle. Okay, then just display that radius. How you are going to display that radius? Object dot
Object.radius.
radius. Okay, I think we have considered a small r. Okay, so radius. Now call the actual function area of circle. Okay, I will use a slash n because I have not used for previous line, so that's why. Okay, so he will calculate that radius and display the result on screen and use integer, so that's why return 0. Okay, so I will execute this code. So okay, it will show two different lines. First one, radius of circle, object dot radius is 5.5 and the area of circle is 94.985. Okay, now just tell me, this particular radius is available inside the public scope, so that's why this particular radius is available, or we are going to access that particular variable outside of the class. Guys, we have achieved that particular concept outside of the class. Okay, with respect to public access specifier. Clear, guys? Okay, so I will do one change. Instead of public, suppose I will write this variable inside the private scope. Then look at the error. Look at this error. Yes, so guys, it will display double circle radius is private within this context, so declared private here. So this particular radius which we have been declared inside the class circle is available inside the private scope, so we can't access that particular variable outside of the class. Okay, so that's why we are using that particular variable inside the public scope. Okay, guys, clear about this public access specifier?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I will copy this code. Then I'll share with you. Next one, next example I will consider is for private. Okay, so I will do some changes in this same code without wasting time. So private. Yes. So instead of this, I will write that particular double variable inside the private scope of that particular class. Next one, just try to call this function, what will happen? It will directly give the error. Yes guys, because we have already executed this task. So what will happen? So when you are going to call this particular function, at that time just pass the parameter for this particular function, and then here in the scope initialize that particular variable which is available inside the private scope. So radius is equal to, yes, how you are going to initialize that private variable? Radius is equal to r.
R.
Clear guys? With the help of this line you are going to initialize that private variable. Okay, radius is equal to r, because this particular radius variable is available inside the private scope, and the scope of that particular variable is limited only within the class, and we are using that radius inside that particular class itself. So that's why it is possible. Now calculate the area. Okay, so again for that particular purpose I will use one more function, double area, and he will calculate that particular area. Then we are going to display both the radius as well as area inside the same function, because that particular function is not available outside of the class. So that's why radius of circle, yes, how you are going to directly display that function, sorry, variable, directly with the help of radius. Next, and what about area? Just directly
Area.
use that variable area. Okay, so you will display that particular function. So next one, with respect to object, so next one is related with, okay, just provide the call. Yes, how you are going to provide the call?
Object dot compute area and parameter in.
Directly call that particular function compute area, and just provide the radius.
Radius.
Okay, here I will consider 2.5, and I will remove this line. So what will happen guys when you are going to call this particular function? Yes, is this possible? Compute area, because compute area is available inside the public scope of that particular circle class. Yes, clear? And you are going to provide the radius. So this particular radius is directly initialized with respect to this r, and from that r directly this radius variable is initialized, and remaining operation is going to be executed. So look at the code. Okay, radius of circle is 2.5 and the area of circle is 19.625. Okay, so again we have done with this private access specifier. I will copy. Next, now I will show you with respect to protected access specifier mode. Yes, for protected access specifier, class circle is valid, because we have to consider two different classes. Yes guys, clear? Because the scope of the protected access specifier is for derived class, so that's why we are using two different classes. Okay, so I will consider the simple example. First one is the simple, I will write as a class name parent, and inside that parent, I will use the protected access specifier, and inside that I will use simple variable. Okay, integer, I will mark it as a var, and I am using this particular variable inside the derived class or base
Derived class.
derived class. So for that particular purpose I will use child as a derived class for that parent class, and I'm using public access specifier and the parent. Okay, next, public, suppose we have to set that particular variable which we have already declared inside the parent class. So for that particular purpose, I will use one more method as a set id or set that variable. So how you are going to set as a by passing one variable to that function, and how you are going to set initialize that variable directly var is equal to id, because that particular variable is available inside the child class. Okay, because due to that protected. Next one, just look at the output whether that variable is initialized or not by using one more function. For that particular purpose, I will use the display function for that id. Yes, how you are going to display yes, how you are going to define this particular function? Just value of var. Yes, yes, which variable we are going to use here, id or var?
ID.
id is local, guys. Look at the scope of that id. Id is available only with respect to this function. So id is not available throughout that function, out of that function. Guys, clear? Id is local, so the scope of that local is up to this curly bracket. So we have initialized that id, or whatever the value of that id is directly initialized with this var, and I'm using this var. Okay, what will happen if we will use this id? Now I will complete this. I'll complete this class. Now call. Just provide the call. So create the object. Yes. For which class we are going to create the object? For
Child
child
class.
class. The object of that child class. Now call the function. Which function you are going to call? First one is the set
Set
id. First of all, set that variable. Set id by using one parameter of integer type. Next one, object dot
Display ID.
the second method is the display id and return 0. Okay, so I will execute this code. Just look the output. Yes, it will just display the error. What is that? id was not declared in this scope, guys. This is the error, because id is available only for this function. So the scope of that id is not available outside of that function. Okay, because id is local variable. Okay, so that's why here we are using which variable? Var, because var we have inherited that particular variable from public class. Just look at the output, guys. Value of var is 5. Got it? Because we have set by using set id, we have initialized that variable. Okay, I will just change the value of that variable to 50. So look at the output. Value of var is 50. Yes, guys, clear about protected?
Yes, sir.
Why it will display, or why id is not available, or why id is not valid for in this scope? Yes, because id is only for local. If you want to display id here, no matter, it will display. Okay, suppose I will show id and use the slash n, and I will execute this. Okay, yes, guys, id 50 and value of var is 50, because the scope of id is limited up to only that class. Okay, so I will comment out this and I will copy this code. I will paste here for your purpose. Okay, so we have done with all three access specifiers, how private is available or how private is works. So with the help of private, we are achieving the encapsulation property because it hide the actual implementation. Guys, clear? Because with the help of another variable, we are initializing the variable which is available inside the private scope. Yes, guys, because we are hiding the actual business logic from the user. Just we are passing different values to that particular function, and with the help of initialization, we are initializing that private variable, and we are using that particular variable in that particular program. Okay, so we have done with private, second one with respect to protected, and third one with respect to public. Is there any doubt regarding all these three access specifiers? Yes, guys.
No, sir.
Okay,